Welcome to An Evening with Paul Scott, who is a member of the Sheffield O-Gauge group and was inspired to build an O-Gauge layout, aged 12. If anyone has any specific requests, please let us know via chat so Paul can cover these too. Welcome, Paul. Thank you for joining us, and over to you.
Thank you very much. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to my loft. This is a sort of man shed which contains my model railway, and it's where I do my modelling. Thank you for joining, and thank you for taking an interest in my project. As James was just saying, I was inspired to build an O-Gauge layout when I was 12 years old, and this came about because I've always been interested in model railways. And at age 12, I was doing Hornby 00 and Kitmaster and reading Cyril Freeze's black and white railway modeler. And my grandfather, he arranged for me to see the layout of a friend of his. I thought it to be 4mm layout, but to my surprise, it was O-Gauge and it was huge. And it had 12 coach trains and long loose couple freights on it. And I was so impressed with this. It really put Hornby 00 and 4mm in the shade. So I thought to myself, one day, I'd like to have a layout like this. And it took me over 50 years to get to the point where I could actually contemplate building something similar. And this was when my wife and I acquired a house which had a loft, which was suitable for conversion for a model railway. And I'll show you a picture of this loft. Can I have the first picture, please?
Indeed, I will now share the Paul's PowerPoint presentation. There you go. I hope everyone can see that.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah, so that's a picture of the loft when the conversion work was nearly complete. And can we see the next picture?
All right.
And that's the same view when it's actually been completed and the layout was underway. And you can see that on the left-hand side, we've got where the train loops are. And my trains are there covered in polythene, as you can see, and it gets sawdust and things all over them. And on the right-hand side, we have the baseboard construction underway for the scenic part of the layout. And the next picture shows the same view today. And as you can see, things have moved on a bit. Got the staircase at the end, and as I said before, the train holding loops on the left and the scenic part of the railway on the right. Come with the next picture. That's looking in the opposite direction, away from the staircase. Now this loft's 50 feet long by 14 feet wide, and the layout is quite low. It's only 29 inches above the floor. And this, of course, is to get under the slope of the ceiling, because problem with a loft is that if you go up higher, then your layout gets narrower. And I needed every inch of the width I could get in this loft because it's just slightly on the narrow side at 14 feet. Also, having the baseboards low gives you a bit of a back scene as well, a bit of an upstand for the back scene. At 14 feet wide, I've got at the staircase end of the room, I've got 4 tracks going round the head of the stairs in parallel. Well, 14 feet's a bit narrow for that if you want to work on a 6-foot minimum radius. But anyway, I mustn't grumble because I'm very lucky to have such a space for a layout. So that's the end of the grumbling. Having got this space, I decided to base the layout on Colwich Junction. There's two couple of reasons for this. It's an LMS West Coast Mainline prototype, which is my principal area of interest. And for a West Coast Mainline junction, it's a small and compact site, just about doable as a model. And it also has an interesting track layout with a potential for 3 continuous running circuits and lots of operational interest, which I'll explain later. So can we have the next picture? Yeah, so So talking about a little bit about the prototype, Colwich Junction. Colwich Junction is in Staffordshire and it's situated, as you can see by this map, just south of Stafford. Not to be confused with Colwick in Nottingham, which I believe is a Great Northern Railway goods yard and engine shed. And this map shows the Colwich Junction is on the Trent Valley Line section of the West Coast Main Line, and you can see here that we've got the line coming up from the south from London through Coventry to Birmingham, which is the London and Birmingham Railway, and then we've got the line going north, the Grand Junction Railway, which went north to Crewe, and then with a line to Manchester, and then it went straight on and met up with the Liverpool and Manchester Railway at Earlstown. Well, in the early days of railways, these railways were built in the 1830s, and in the early days, the traffic grew and developed enormously quickly, and the undesirability of having everything going through Birmingham soon became apparent. So the Trent Valley Line was promoted and built to cut Birmingham off, or to cut the corner off, so trains could pass directly to northern destinations without having to go through Birmingham. Excuse me a minute while I just change my notes over. Can I have the next picture, please? So that's a prototype picture of Colwich Junction Station taken. That's looking north towards Stafford, and you can see just under the footbridge you've got the points there, which is where the junction is for Stoke. Colwich Junction is a junction by virtue of the fact that the North Staffordshire Railway built a line from Stoke and the Potteries to meet the West Coast Main Line, and then Colwich became a junction. The Stoke line was built shortly after the station was opened. It was opened in 1847. I think the line from Stoke arrived about 1849, not long afterwards. And the station was then jointly operated by the London North Western and North Staffordshire Railway. And it was built at the point where it was built because it was there where the railway crossed the Great Haywood to Rugeley Turnpike Road, and it crossed originally by a level crossing. This picture, one thing I didn't realise when I decided to model Colwich Junction was how few photographs there are of the place, and this is the only picture taken that I know about from this direction at any period. So I've found various photographs, and I've got information for various books to be able to build what I've built. So if can we have the next picture? So that's a view of Colwich Junction looking north towards Stafford. A bit further on than the last picture, the station is behind the camera, and you can see here the lines to Stoke curving away, and the lines for the West Coast Main Line going straight on through the Shrubbery Estate and on to Shrubbery Tunnel and Stafford. Can we have the next picture? And that's a picture looking in the opposite direction, looking south. The station is again behind the camera, and you can see here how you've got the four main lines heading south towards Rugeley. Thing about Colwich was, one of the interesting things about it is that four lines came up from the south, and the slow lines ended at Colwich, and then two lines then continued north, as I mentioned earlier. And the station formed a bit of a bottleneck between these the four line section and the double track sections. On the left here, you can see Colwich Brick and Tile Works, and then on the right there's a small goods yard. My period is the LMS period, the later LMS period, years 1939 to 46. I run anything that existed in that period, from the Coronation Scot, which was withdrawn in 1939, to rebuilt Royal Scots and a Black Duchess, which did not appear until 1943. But I don't go as far as the 1946 livery. So I'm not, not that fussy about what I run. Anyway, having talked about the loft and the prototype, let's have a look at the model. So we've got to have the next picture, please. Now, I'd like to say at this stage that it's not an exact model of Colwich Junction. It's condensed and simplified, and I've deviated from the prototype in various ways, which I'll explain as we go along. I think perhaps it'd be fair to say that it takes its inspiration from Colwich Junction. And another thing I'll say, it's very much a work in progress. There's still lots to do. There's no signals, there's no station building, there's no fencing, and the train loops, the train holding loops on the other side of the room need improvements, and the train loops which represent Stoke and the potteries, they've not even been started. I mean, so I'll work up the layout, and this is a general view of the layout from the junction end, and you can see the on the left we've got the West Coast Main Line coming south from Stafford, and sorry, on the right we've got the West Coast Main Line coming south from Stafford, and on the left we've got the line from Stoke coming into the on what's basically a double junction, but it's got one or two interesting features. It's got the up slow line crosses over the double junction with a couple of diamonds, and the other unusual interesting feature is that the point blades for the junction are actually on an overbridge. And they have longitudinal sleepers on a wooden deck bridge, which makes that whole area there rather congested and rather interesting. And I'll also say mention at this point that a couple of things that I found invaluable in building this layout are templot for doing the building the track. Templot's designed for people who want to hand build their own track, and which is what I wanted to do. So it was marvelous for me to be able to draw it all out. And one of the good things about Templot is that if it's not doable, it won't let you do it. If you can draw it, you can build it. The other thing I found invaluable is CAD. Only 2D CAD. I'm not ventured into 3D CAD. But I'll talk about that a bit further on. So can we have the next picture? I mentioned that the point blades for the junction points are actually on an overbridge, an underbridge, sorry. And that's a picture of the prototype showing the longitudinal sleepers on the actual bridge section. I believe this came about because they wanted to ease the curve on the junction when when larger locomotives came into service, and so they had to pull the points right back onto the bridge. Can I have the next picture? And that's at an earlier stage of the layout. That's a model view showing the my attempt at the longitudinal sleepers and the point blades on the bridge. And perhaps we can have the next picture. And that's a picture from the opposite direction showing the junction with an Ellis Clark Black 5 approaching. So can we have the next picture? Now this is a model of the bridge which carried the road under which carried the railway over the road underpass. Um, and this was built about 1870 in the prototype to replace the level crossing that you may remember I mentioned that earlier, the turnpike road crossed with a level crossing at this site originally. But as trains got faster and more frequent, this became an increasing nuisance. And the station was remodeled around 1870, and this road underpass was put in to get rid of the level crossing. It was originally, as I've modelled here, a steel girder bridge uh, with a wooden deck. Can we have the next picture? And that's the bridge today. And as you can see, the steel girder bridge with the wooden deck's gone, and it's been replaced with a concrete bridge. But basically, the underpass is exactly the same as built. The brick walls and everything are all original, and still there to this day. I'd say at this point that Colwich Junction still exists to this day, and it's still a busy junction. In fact, busier than ever. But it's now, of course, I'm sure most of you know, an electrified railway, and the track layout has been completely changed from what it was in steam days. All the buildings that I've not yet modelled have all been demolished. The stations all completely disappeared. The only building that remains on the site that's original is the Crossheads footbridge, which we'll see later, and the actual, ironically, the original station building built by the Trent Valley Line, which still exists to this day as a private house. So can we have the next picture? That's a view of the model underpass showing the different level baseboards. So the baseboards are level coming up to where just about where that coach is, the end of the coach, and then we've got a lower level baseboard then, and the layout in this area is constructed on the open system to accommodate the underlying scenery. Can we have the next picture? That's a close-up of the underpass bridge when it was under construction. And talking about CAD, you notice how we've got these stiffening plates on the bridge, and there's a U-shaped plate, and there's 50 of these on this bridge, I think. And trying to cut 50 of those out of plasticard would be not only very laborious, but it'd be really difficult to get them all exactly the same. So I drew one of those up in 2D CAD and sent the drawing off to the lady at York Model Making, and she made me 50 of those pieces, which was saved me a very boring job, and also ensured that they were all consistent. Apart from that, it's just a pretty much straightforward bit of modelling, plasticard girders, and MDF walls covered with Slater's embossed English bond plasticard. So if we could move on to the next picture, that's a prototype view of the same place, looking the opposite direction, showing the signal box and the bridge we've just been talking about, where the Dutch is just passing over. And this is all really congested area, really. The signal box is sandwiched between the bridge and the station platforms, and you've got the footbridge right behind. It's such a tight site that the signal ladder actually comes down onto the bridge deck. The signal box is it's basically a standard London North Western Railway Type 4 signal box, Type 4 design box with a brick base. That's a standard prefabricated design, and the length varied according to the number of levers that needed to be accommodated. So it's very easy to work out the length of one of these boxes. You just count up the number of windows, and in this case, there's 13 windows to accommodate 55 levers. And it's difficult to see, but the third panel is longer than the first two. This is because the signal box has been extended, and it's thought that when the line was quadrupled up from Rugeley in the early 20th century, they needed extra levers, so they had to extend the box. And you can actually see there's an earlier picture showing this signal box with 12 window units, but it had 13 window units. It's interesting also in that it's quite a high signal box with 2 rows of locking room windows, high so that the signalman can get a good view over the footbridge. Can we see the next picture? That's the model of the signal box. That's the back of the signal box, because it was the front you were looking at on the prototype picture. So it was a signal box that had glass nearly all the way around, because the signalman needed to see both sides. If we have the next picture. So that's the north end of the signal box. You can perhaps just see that due to the restricted area, the base of the signal box is actually narrower than the upper deck of the signal box, and the back part is supported on brackets. So can we see the next picture? That's looking from the opposite direction, and you can see the fact that the base is narrower than the deck more clearly here. Another interesting feature about this signal box was that it has a glazed gable end, and the reason for this, in the past, the junction signals were actually right up against the signal box, within the space between the signal box and the footbridge, and they were so close to the signal box that without a glazed gable end, the signalman wouldn't actually be able to see what these signals were doing. And it's quite a rare feature of London North Western signal boxes. It only appeared, I think, according to Richard Foster's book, in 3 or 4 other signal boxes. Excuse me a minute.
Walls obviously popped off somewhere. I must admit that gable end looks remarkably modern. It's something that a lot of houses are doing these days. So Paul is back.
Yeah. Richard Foster's book, Pictorial Record of London North Western Signalling, is an absolute must for the London North Western modeler. And it has all this information I used to build this signal box I got from his book. There's a drawing of a Type 4 signal box in there, and there's diagrams showing all the windows and the sizes of the windows, and that enabled me to help me enormously in building this model. Can we have the next picture? Again, CAD was used in the construction of this. I drew this. This is an MDF base, as you can probably see, and I drew this in CAD with all the brickwork and everything. And there's 2 layers there to get the panels. And I send these drawings off to again York Model Making, and the lady there made an excellent job of producing me a kit for the brick base, which you can see here. And you can perhaps see some holes near the top. Well, there she cut these holes right through the inner layer, and then I was able to slot square plastic art through the holes and produce the soldier bricks. Can we have the next picture? That's another picture of the thing in a bit more advanced stage. The upper deck's scratch built from plastic art. As you can see, I tried to follow sort of the prototype as method of construction as near as possible. So it's double layer, and the window frames. Again, I made a drawing of one window unit and sent that off to York Model Making, and they made me all the windows for the signal box, and they do actually slide. Although I don't tend not to slide them because you tend to push them. If you're not careful, you can push them through, and then you have to start dismantling it to fix it. Can I have the next picture? Another picture under construction. The finials are made from a pin with a bit of milliput rolled into a ball and stuck through the pin. Give the next picture.
Can I ask a quick question, Paul?
Yeah.
I've seen this lots of times on signal boxes. The thing that's sticking out next to the entrance to the signal box, is that the loo?
Yeah, it's a loo.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, a necessary addition. Yeah, I mentioned these soldier bricks earlier on. You can see those there in white. So that's square rod that's been pushed through the holes. And lower down, you've got the sloping bricks. I can't remember how I made those actually. They're just made from, I think it's straightforward really, just made from plastic on filed to an angle. So apart the base, as I said, was made by York Model Making, but the rest of it's scratch built. The roofing tiles, again, the York Model Making's self-adhesive roofing tiles, which I think look quite good. The only problem with those roofing tiles is you've got to be very careful how you put them on, because you don't get a second chance. They're self-adhesive and they stick like anything. And once you've stuck them on, they're stuck. And the only way you'll get them off is to rip them off and destroy them, and you'll have to get some more. So you need to be very careful that you get the layers at the right distance, so you end up with an even set of rows between the gutter and the ridge. So can we have the next picture? It's got a full interior, although on this picture the interior is not quite finished. It's got the block shelf and the track diagram, but it's not got the block instruments on that picture. I think perhaps on the next picture you might see those. If we could move on to that one, yeah, there we are. That's the full interior, complete with the signalman and everything, and it also has lighting. I enjoyed building that lot of the signal box. It was quite fun. So if we can have the next picture. Now beyond the signal box, we've got the station footbridge, and you can see here a prototype view. This footbridge is not like any other footbridge. The way it's made is completely different. It has, you can see at the bottom of the steps, you've got these newel posts, and then you've got the same thing again at the tops of the steps. And then these newel posts sit on cast iron columns, which then support the girders. There's no kit that gets anywhere near it. So again, like the signal box, complete scratch build job. Another thing I didn't realise about modelling Colwich Junction, you can't buy a thing for it. You have to build everything. if you're building a model of that sort of prototype. Can we have the next picture? That's a picture of the finished model. You can see the columns I was talking about here, the cast iron columns with the newel post sitting on top, and then there's a sort of lip at the sides, and the girders sit on that lip. Next picture. The newel posts and the cast iron columns, I had those. A friend of mine who has a 3D printer kindly made those for me. He made a lovely job of them. Again, I sent him a CAD drawing, although I didn't realise you can't do it with a 2D drawing. He very kindly made a 3D drawing for me, so he could make them on his machine. The bridge girders, well, they're just metal angle, brass strip, some etched fret. It's perhaps a little bit smaller than I would have liked, but it was the nearest I could get. And then the kickboards are made of plastic art, so there's all sorts of materials in this. And the next picture, that just shows the girders under construction. Yeah, the angle pieces, I had those etched, and that was again, you've got to cut them all the same. Particularly in metal, quite a laborious task fretting all those out, but get them etched, easy. The next picture, yeah, that's a picture showing the construction method and how it went together. The point motors that you can see there, the signal box covers those over. They're the points motors for the junction points. So that's rather handy me able to put those on top instead of having them underneath. Come to the next picture. So that shows, as you can see, the platforms. Station of 3 platforms. The up slow line came over that crossing, which crossed over the double junction, which I showed you earlier, crosses over on a couple of diamonds, and then comes round platform 3. The slow line, the down slow finishes further back. You can see just beyond the locomotives. You can see the crossover there where the down slow finishes and comes into the double track main line going through the station. As I said earlier, there's no station buildings as yet, but hopefully we'll get those one day. On the next picture. Picture showing how the platforms were built. Straightforward enough, really. MDF for the fronts and tops. To the next picture. The corbelling, the brickwork, which supports the platform edge. Now that was your model making, drawn in CAD. The station, the platform walls were drawn in CAD with all the brickwork and everything, and your model making made those with all the brickwork and everything lasered in. And she also made the corbelling, which is basically, well, it's just 3 layers of thin MDF stuck on top of one another, so you get this staggered corbelling. You can hardly see it really on the finished model, and so went to an enormous amount of trouble to do that, to produce something that you can hardly see. But anyway, there we are. That's modelling. Next picture. Yeah, this shows how I cut the platform edges. And making these platforms on a curve. And can we go back 2 or 3 pictures? Again. Yeah. See how the platforms are on a curve? They're all on a curve, right? Well, trying to cut those platform tops so that they're the correct distance away from the rail through the curve, it could be, depending on how you go about it, a bit of a challenge. But anyway, I sorted out a way of doing this, which I'll show you. Can we go back again then? Yep. Sorry, it's a bit out of focus, this one. So I made this piece of plastic arm, which actually sits on the rails and which holds a pencil. So you drag that along, and you make your platforms oversized, of course. Must mention that bit. And then you drag that along, and then you get a line then, which is where you want your platform edge to be. And then you can get a little razor saw and you can cut down that, and you've got your platform edge exactly the right distance from your rail, consistently the whole way along. So the platform shape exactly mirrors the track formation. Next picture. And then you cut it. I cut it with a razor saw, and then planed it up nice and square with that plane lying on the rails. Quite easy to do, actually, and it worked very well. Next picture. Yeah, that's just a view showing the finished platforms, all with the edges all planed up and everything, all ready for the paving, which is, I think, the next picture. Yeah, so the paving is done just with plastic art tiles, cut to the set using a jig, cut them all to the size of the actual prototype flagstones, as near as I can work it out. And then they're stuck down with MEK to the MDF. Easy enough to do, but a long job. It took there's actually on both platforms there's about 1,000 tiles. So it's just a bit of a job. Next picture, and there we have the finished result. So the coloring's just painted really to just followed colour pictures of platform paving. As I said earlier, there's not many pictures of Colwich Station, and I've never ever seen a colour picture of it. Problem is, you see, it was closed in 1958. It's a rather out of the way, little known site, I think. It was closed in 1958 and probably demolished not that long afterwards. So this explains perhaps why there's so few pictures of it. But anyway, I was quite pleased with the result there. It was a long job, sticking all those tiles on and then painting it all, try and get it to look right. And I've actually got white edges to the platforms as well, but that was done after this picture was taken. So that's that bit. So if we can move on again to the next picture. So the line continues on under the Crosshead Footpath Bridge, and I don't know if there's any members of the London North Western Railway Society here tonight, but that's a copy of the latest London North Western Railway Society journal, and which came out about a month ago. And there's a picture in there. There's been a series of articles by let me find it. Yeah, there's been a series of articles by Robin Mathams and Dave Barrett about the Trent Valley Line, very interesting articles. And the one in this magazine covers this bridge. So that was very timely. So it's a footpath bridge. And it's made from the bridge pier is made from MDF, covered in Slater's brick plastic art again, and the girders are made by my faithful friends York Model Making, who've sent them a CAD drawing, and laser cut them. One piece with the girder sloping one way, one piece with the girder sloping the other way. Then they're laminated together and the other details added to produce a reproduction of this bridge. Come to the next picture. Just a picture of it showing the bridge under construction, and it's like I say, MDF, and the capping stones are made from abesia wood, and the details on the brick courses are made of plastic hard strip. So if we have the next picture, just another picture of the bridge nearly finished. And the next picture, yeah, that's a close up just to show the brickwork. Now, lots of the brickwork around Colwich is where the heads of the bricks are blue, and the long edge of the brick is pink. So you get this sort of blue pink effect, which I've tried to reproduce here. So come over the next picture. Now that's a prototype track plan of Colwich Junction. And I mentioned earlier that I deviated from the prototype in various ways. One way is that I've left out some of the sidings to reduce the width of the baseboard. I also left out the scissors crossover and the other adjacent crossover, because I decided not to model the brickworks, but to have a coal yard there instead. I think if I was starting this model today, I wouldn't have made that decision. But anyway, I did. So that's what we've got. So in order to give access to the coal yard, I've had to put some different point work in, which I'll show you in a minute. Come with the next picture. That's a picture of Colwich Junction station looking south, and we can see beyond the station buildings the crossheads footbridge, and you'll notice that it has pretty much two equal spans. But because I've reduced the number of sidings to reduce the baseboard width, if I put all the sidings in, it would have made the baseboard very wide and very difficult to reach the back. And of course, with it being in a permanent layout in the loft up against a wall, you can only get to it from one side. So that is, although have got quite long arms, it is a consideration when you're building a layout. Can you reach things? So I left some of the sidings out to reduce the width, but that then gave me another problem, and it shows how once you deviate on one thing, you have to start deviating on other things. And if we can see the next picture. No,
Can I just jump in there,
Yeah.
Paul, to ask a question? Someone's asked how many coaches the platforms accommodate.
Well, on the prototype, I believe the platform was about 350 feet long, not particularly long actually, and my model platform is slightly shorter than that. I can just about get 5 coaches on it.
Right.
On the prototype, you'd be able to get a bit more. But again, you know, all layouts compromises. 50 foot isn't over much length. It sounds a lot, but it's not over much to build the model of Colwich Junction, and so I've had to condense it and simplify it really. So reducing the length of the platform was one of the ways in which I condensed it.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So if we just go back, can we go back a couple of pictures? Yeah, back again and again and again and again and again. Right. So you no back to it's the footbridge I'm wanting to show. The next, can we have the next picture?
Oh, sorry.
No, the other way.
That one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So if you look here, you'll see that my model footbridge doesn't have two equal spans. It has a long span and a short span. Problem is that to make two equal spans would have resulted in the central pier being right in the middle of the up fast line. So once you start deviating, you end up having to deviate more and more. Yeah. Anyway, so if we can go back again then to where we were. Yep. And again, right. Yeah. So then so after the crossheads footbridge, the four-line formation continues south past the coal yard, which is where the brickworks should have been, and then we get to what's called the Bishton Lane Road Overbridge, which provides a visual break to the scenic part of the layout. And again, I've had to deviate from the prototype with this bridge. Can we just go to the next picture? And again, and again, I think yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so that's a prototype Bishton Lane footbridge, and you can see that on the right we've got a stone arched bridge, and then on the left we've got a girder bridge that was constructed when the line was quadrupled. So the stone arch dates back to the construction of the railway, 1847. The other bridge was built in the early years of the 20th century when the line was quadrupled. But because I mentioned earlier, the loft's a bit narrow and I've got four lines all together, I couldn't get that bridge in and get around the top of the stairs at anything like 6 foot. So I had to simplify it and make a girder bridge, a single span girder bridge that would span 4 tracks. Can we go back to the bridge again? Yeah, back again. And yeah, there we are. Yeah, so you can see that bridge, which provides a visual break at the end of the layout. In mitigation, I would say that it is a model of a bridge which appeared at a different place on the Trent Valley line. Quite a number of these bridges were put in when the line was quadruple. They decided they were going to have a bridge that would span all 4 tracks. So it is true to prototype to the Trent Valley line, if not at that actual location. So if we can have the next picture. Yeah, now I mentioned about another way I deviated from the prototype and not having the scissors crossover. So I had to put this lead in, which would have conflicted with the position of the scissors crossover. This is because I decided to have the coal yard. So I had to put this lead in so it could be accessed from the up and down main lines. Next picture. Yeah, that's just a view looking the other way with the coal yard. Again, it all looks a bit bare. There's lots of detail work yet to be done, fencing and coal piles of coal and drays and things like that in the coal yard. Some coal huts and things like that. All work to do. If you can move on again. Yeah, you've seen that one, haven't we? Yeah, and again, yeah, that's just another picture of the bridge. And the picture, that's a picture of the bridge under construction. Again, it's same as the other bridge, really. MDF, Slater's embossed plastic art and plastic art girder work. Obishi wood for the stone details. And move on again. yeah, it just shows a picture of the that area of the layout under construction. I was going to have a loading dock. You can see a loading dock there. I was going to have that, but I decided in the end not to bother with that. So that's gone now. And just it's just the scenery is just the usual thing, a bit plywood for the roads and expanded polystyrene for the banking. And if we can move on again, just a general view of that part of the layout. Yeah, move on again. And then when we get past the scenic break, the layout then the 4-track section curves round the top of the staircase on a wooden girder, 12mm ply girder. You can see there's 2 levels. The 2 fast lines are going down, the 2 slow lines are going up. That's because I'm planning to have, as I mentioned at the beginning, 2 levels of train storage loops at the back of the layout. So that's about it, really. I think there's one more picture, is there? Yeah, that's just a view of the train storage loops as they are now. But they're all going to be rebuilt with new point work, and they're all going to move forward towards the centre of the room to provide room for the other high level storage yard which I'm planning. And I'm just starting work on this project now. It's probably take a couple of years. So that's it then. That's the tour of Colwich Junction. If anybody's interested in hearing about how the track was built, I can go on and talk about that.
Yeah,
why not? Philip Taylor's just popped a message here saying that he thinks it's wonderful work and a lovely space, and I have to say I agree with him as well.
Well, thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say so.
Right, I will stop sharing for the moment.
Yeah.
And then, no, I think how you built the track, I think, is something I'm sure we would all like to see. Any dissenters on chat?
No, there's quite a few messages popping up now asking if you would please carry on and tell us about how you built your track.
Right. In that case, then I will.
As well as a few others that have, again, congratulated you on the quality of your modelling there.
Right. Well, thank you very much. That's very kind.
Right. So, okay, let's close that for a moment. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find Paul's second PowerPoint presentation, which I'm in the process of loading up now. And as soon as that's going, yep, that's the right one. Okay. Right. I'm ready to go, Paul.
Okay.
I'm just going to. Do you want me to share that now, or do you want us to talk first?
Well, yeah, I'll ask for the picture when I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay.
So talking about the track work then. So the track's constructed and ballasting using my own system I devised myself. I use 1.5mm thick plywood sleepers, C&L chairs, and the rail is Slater's. The only reason I use Slater's rail is because the late Kevin Price used to work for Slater's.
I'll just stop you there, Paul. Sorry to butt in. Someone's just popped a message here on the board saying that he lives in the brick workers cottages at Cross Heads.
Right.
And he said, "Well done on building your layout."
Right. Good.
Somebody called PH.
Yeah. Right. Well,
Patrick Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for
it. Interesting. What a nice place to live.
It is, and it's remarkable to see where I drive up and down Crossheads and walk the dog every day to see in model form. It's absolutely stunning, my friend. It's lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll mute myself again.
Right. Okay. Thanks. Yeah. So, yeah, I was saying that the reason I used Slater's rail was because a friend of mine, the late Kevin Price, he used to work for Slater's, and he got me all the rail at a discount. And I started off using Slater's sleepers as well, though I did find later that timber track sleepers are much better, cleaner, and they needed less fettling. The reason I use 1 point thick sleepers is because you need very little ballast. If you start trying to ballast track like Pico track or any track which has scale depth sleepers, you need an awful lot of ballast to fill the holes, to fill all the voids in the sleepers. It's very difficult to get it looking neat, and almost impossible to get a nice ballast shoulder. So you'll be surprised how little ballast you need for this method of track building that I'm going to tell you about. The system is unusual in that I glue the track and ballast down at the same time. I'm not the only person who does this, I know. I believe Norman Solomon used to build his track like that. And I would also say at this point that it's nearly 10 years ago that I started work on this track and on this layout. And since then, things have moved on in the world of O-gauge track building. I think if I was starting this layout today, I'd probably build it to 31.5 rather than 32mm gauge. And there's also the Templok carrot system now. People, building points with 3D printing systems. So if you're thinking of using this system, you need probably to have a look at other things that are going on in track building alongside what I'm going to tell you about. So if we can have the first picture.
Indeed. Right, we'll share that for you. Oh, there it is. There you go.
Yeah, so that's a picture of a piece of prototype track work, and in the past times, railway track was immaculate. It was really neat, really immaculate, really well maintained. And you'll notice that all the ballast level with the sleeper tops. I mean, this is no special place. This is somewhere out in the country. Nothing special about it. Everything's tidy, ballast level with the sleeper tops. You've got a nice, neat 45-degree angle to the ballast at the ends of the sleepers. There's no untidy heaps of ballast lying around. There's no weeds, no broken bits, no rubbish, no junk, no old bits of equipment that nobody's bothered to take away. Everything's pristine, neat, and tidy, and that's what I've tried to reproduce on my model. That sort of look, and this carried on right up until the ends of the 1960s, possibly even to the 1970s. It's when rail track took over and they no longer had permanent way gangs allocated to bits of track, that it all started to go downhill. Can we have the next picture? Now that's a cross section of a typical piece of double track formation, and you'll notice that the two tracks are lying on a deep bed of ballast with nice, neat 45-degree angles on the ends of the sleepers. I know they're a bit beyond the ends of the sleepers. I think in practice they were often closer to the ends of the sleepers than that. And then you've got a 2-foot cess area at either side. And in constructing my model track, this is what I've tried to reproduce, this sort of look to it. So if we can move to the next picture. And that's my bit of my track, where I've sort of tried to get that sort of look, that sort of pristine neatness of everything. And if you want to get this sort of effect, you need to think really before you start work how you're going to do it. You're not going to get that if you just pin down a bit of flexi track, pour on some ballast, and then flood it all with dilute PVA. as I said earlier, this system uses very little ballast, and because there's not loads of ballast and loads of glue there, and it's all set rock hard. It's actually not that noisy. It is noisier than a track that's not ballasted, but it's not that noisy. So if you want to do that, if you want to get your track like that, first thing you need to do is to draw it up in template, and then get it printed out in full size on rolls. So you've got your whole layout, all your track, all printed out full size. And can we have the next picture? And that's the layout with the template track all printed out full size, laid on top of the baseboards. And you can see how at the bottom end we've got the lower level baseboard that I was talking about earlier for the underlined scenery section. And then if we can have the next picture. Now, when you've you built your baseboards and you've laid your template plan on top, you need to lay the way I get the ballast effect, the height of the ballast is to lay the track on cork, and I use 6mm cork for the main lines and 3mm for the sidings. Sidings were main lines were banked up on a good deep bed of often limestone ballast, but sidings were often a bit lower down, and they were just ballast using ash and cinders. So you need to stick down your cork, and you make it oversize, wider than the actual width of the finished track. And then you lay your template plan on top, and then you build your track. And the way the track's built is by using a jig. If you can see this, using a track making jig. This is a jig which is designed, which makes a 60-foot scale length of track, and you make your track, your half track. So you end up like that with your sleepers and on one rail. And I found that I mentioned earlier I use C&L chairs. Well, C&L, I don't know what they do these days, because I say it's a long time since I've built any track, but they used to sell two types. They used to these brown ones, which are theirs, and then these ones, which are from Exacta Scale, a company they took over at some point. I found those were much better because they sit nice and square on the rail. The other ones tend to sit at a slight angle, but these sit nice and square, and they're tighter fit to the rail, so they don't slide about. When you take you can see what's happened here. The C&L chairs, the sleepers were all slid, whereas the Exacta ones have stayed in position. Anyway, you make your half track and you put it down on your baseboard. You screw it down with a screw every 3 or 4 inches, depending on how tight a curve it is. You screw it down to the curve you want, and then you glue on your other rail.
Somebody's just dropped onto the chat and asked, how long do you need to make this crossing? Somebody called Jos.
How long what? Sorry?
How long do you need to make a crossing?
A crossing?
Yeah.
How long do you need to make a crossing?
Do you mean how long does it take to make a crossing?
What does he mean by
if you could unmute yourself, Jos, and ask us the question directly, if you're there.
Are you there, Jos?
Are you there, Jos?
Joachim from the German.
There he is.
So, you have this crossing, some slides before, and I think it's really impressive. And my question was, how long do you need to make this? A year or half a year or?
Oh, you mean the whole junction thing? Yeah. Well, I think it probably took me 3 months perhaps to build
okay.
that crossing. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. It's
Yeah.
impressive.
Okay, thanks.
And somebody else has commented while you were on about exact scale, saying that they're now only available from the scale 7 group, but you probably know that already, don't you?
Well, I don't actually, but I didn't know that. No, but C&L used to sell them at one time. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. So moving on then, the points themselves. Now, the plain track, I screw that down with small number 2 screws. Every 3 or 4 inches, a couple of screws just to screw that down. The points. I use double-sided tape to hold the sleepers on the 10-plot plan, and then I make the points in situ. I make the crossings myself. I don't buy the crossings. As you can see here, the points glued construction like the rest of the track, except you need more strength when you get to the crossing. So I use rivets there. They're actually Slater's track rivets, which they used to sell in conjunction with the old Brooksmith track building system. But they're exactly the right height. There's exactly the same height as the chairs, as the base of the chairs. So they work well. So I put those rivets in, and then the centre part of the crossing is soldered to the rivets, so you get a nice strong job. And then the chairs are cosmetic.
Do you use a jig? Sorry, James is asking if you use a jig to make the point crossings and blades.
No, I don't. I don't use a jig. I do it by eye. What I do is I lay a rail. I lay the rail straight through. Then I mill an angle on the other rail, and I solder that to that rail, and then do it by eye on the plan, and then I cut off the excess piece and mill it to a point. I use a circular sander to do the milling actually.
Okay.
The point blades. Now the point blades I buy in. I bought them in from C&L because they are lovely. They're expensive, but they are really nice, and they're much better than anything I could make. So I think they're worth buying. But the made up crossings and things, I don't buy. I don't buy those in because I don't need to. But they're easy to make, and I make those myself. So can we go back to the picture?
Indeed. There you go.
So you can see here, you can see the rivets actually there, can't you? That I use for making the points. So you stick your point sleepers down with using double-sided tape, and then you make up your points, and you lay your track, and you can see the screws here that hold the track down. And so we move on to the next picture. There you can see the half track laid before the other rails been added, and that's the bridge section I was talking about, where you've got longitudinal sleepers made of a bishi, where the points go over the bridge. And then so you build all your track. If you move on to the next picture, and then when you've got all your track built, the thing to do then is to take out the paper, the 10-plot paper, and I do that by remove the screws from the track, and I dissolve the double-sided tape by using some painting white spirit on between the sleepers, and that dissolves the double-sided tape. If you try and lift the points without doing that, you're going to end up breaking the sleepers, and sleepers are going to come off, and you're going to feel a bit frustrated. And it's a bit of a tricky operation to do this, but if you're careful, you can do it. And then you slip your paper out, and then you put your track back down again, put your screws back in, you've got the screw holes there, and it's quite easy to locate them back in, and then you end up with it looking something like this. And can we have the next picture? And then when it's all finished, and hang on a minute, no, then you've got to trim your cork. So I use a little gadget, very simple little gadget, just there it is. It's just a piece of wood with a rather unsafe looking blade attached.
Ooh.
And I store them with a piece of wood over the top one. And what you do is you run that down the edge of your sleepers, and that cuts your ballast, cuts the edge of your ballast to a constant distance from the ends of your sleepers. And then I rough cut it then at 45 degrees and finish it off with a sanding block. Dead easy to sand cork. It doesn't take long to do. And that way you get a nice 45-degree angle at the end. Can we? Yeah. So there we are. You see, and that's been done in this picture. All the paper's been taken out. The track's been put back down. The ballast, the cork's been trimmed and cut off at 45 degrees, and then you've got these grotty bits in between here where you've chiseled up cork where you didn't want it, and you've got all these bits of glue and stuff. So what I do then is I mix some plaster with a bit of colourant in, and fill these areas in. As I think it's a picture of this. You can move on to the next picture. Yeah, yeah. You can see here we've got the plaster. That's to cover up all the gluey bits, the gungy bits, and make it all nice and neat. And also you can vary the depth of the ballast. Then, by putting more cork in, it makes the ballast mound look shallower. And if you don't want a ballast mound at all, as in a goods yard perhaps, then you can fill that in with plaster and make it level. And next picture. So that's those things we've got lying there on top of the plasterwork are for the signals. They're made by Jurassic Models, and they hold the signal servos and hold the posts. And so it makes it easy to build the signal off the layout, and then to remove it, put it back, and all that. Good idea to think about this now at this stage, because if you start, when you've got all your layout finished and all balanced and everything, you start cutting holes in your baseboard, you're going to pad saw on, and all the vibrations going to shake your ballast about and make a mess of it. So it's a good idea to get that done at this stage before you do the fancy stuff. So we got this far, and then next picture. Then you paint it all, spray paint the whole thing with a base brown paint, like this, basically the sleeper colour. And when you've done this, you can lift it. You can lift the track again, which you need to do, and it'll all stay in shape. It's like you dealing with like Hornby 00 section track actually at this stage, except it looks a bit better. So now the cess. Now what's been done here is the cess has been put in. So you coat the cess area with undiluted PVA and put your fine cinders in. I use Woodland Scenics cinders, the finest grade for that. And it's important to do it before you do the ballasting. If you try and do it afterwards, it doesn't look good, because the ballast sits on top of the cess and not the other way around. So you need to do that at this point. And then moving on to the next picture. Now then you come to the most tricky part of this operation, actually gluing down the track and the ballast. So what you need to do is you lift off your track, which you can see how in the lower part of the picture we've got the track there that's loose, but it's all staying in shape because it's been painted. And then you lift your track off and you make sure everything's nice and clean, and then you coat the track area with undiluted PVA, carefully painting down to the cess. And then you put your track back down. Good idea probably to have some locating pins and things so you can do it quickly, because you need to work fast at this point, because you need to get your track down and positioned before the glue goes off. So you get your track back down, quick check, make sure everything's right, no dog legs at the rail joints or anything like that, and then you pour on your ballast and weight your track down with bricks so it's nicely in contact with the baseboard. You make absolutely sure you don't lift it at all, because if you do and you get any ballast under your sleepers, you're in dead trouble. And if all goes according to plan, and you put your weights. I use stone blocks that you use for what's it called, driveways. Stone, sets for driveways. I use those for weights. So you need plenty of weights. Hold your track nicely in contact with the cork, and then you go away and you come back the next day. And this is my favourite part of track building. You get your vacuum cleaner and you vac off all the excess ballast, and if all's gone according to plan, it'll look absolutely beautiful. All pristine and neat, just like the prototype. Can we have the next picture? Like that. That's what it'll look like. And when you back your ballast off, you've got all this untidy ballast everywhere, and it just sucks it all off and leaves you with this pristine looking track. Really, really rewarding. Word of warning: don't try and when you're doing this final gluing down operation, don't try to do too much at once, because if your glue goes off and your ballast doesn't stick properly, it's not going to work. You're going to have a fiddly job filling in the gaps and things. I think, is there a couple more pictures? I think, yeah, that's just a view of the track, the finished track, showing the sidings on a thinner layer of ballast, differently done. As I said earlier, sidings were usually on ballasted with cinders and slag and things like that. So that's the effect I've tried to get here. So there we are. I think is that the last picture?
It is.
Yeah. Okay. So that's it. I think there's just one more picture to show. That's where are we? Excuse me a minute. I think that's picture 54.
Okay. I've obviously gone through the two PowerPoint presentations, so I don't have any further pictures, Paul.
What the last picture on the first?
Last picture on the first one.
Yeah, the last picture on the first one was the one I'm
Okay.
trying to get to.
Okay, I'll go find it.
Yeah, it's not critical if you can't find it.
There is one here.
James, it should be the one of the track overhanging the edge of the baseboard where it's not finished.
Yeah, I've got it. I've got it. Okay. Hang on a minute. Oop. Just got to get back to the Zoom meeting. Right, here we go.
Rob says absolutely first class, Paul.
Thank you.
And I agree with him. I always think your track work looks as neat as a pin, and it looks neater when you're there looking at it in person as well.
It's fabulous. Going back to Yoss's question about how long it takes to build this kind of track, from my own experience, I found that a point took me about 8 hours to make from scratch, and that's making the point blades myself, using a jig, and making the crossing V again using a jig. There's some extremely good jigs available from the Scale 7 Society, that because the rail is the same that we use, the crossing angles are the same, the jigs are usable by fine scale modelers as well as Scale 7 modelers. A double slip took me about 24 hours to build, so 3 times as long as a single point. And plain track, an hour or 2 for a yard. So to give you a bit of an idea of how long it would take to put a fairly complicated bit of track together.
Yeah, I could agree. I could agree with those timings. Yeah, I think it probably takes me similar times. So just to wrap up then, as I mentioned earlier, I've been building this layout for over 10 years now, and it's taken far longer than I thought it would. As with most people, I have other things to do in life, and I don't always feel like modelling. But building a layout like this is a big project for one person, and everything always takes far longer than I expect. I think I sort of have this rule of thumb, really, that if you think a job might take you two weeks, it'll probably take 4. I find that things usually take about double the time I think they will. I mentioned earlier that it's a work in progress, and we see here the line, the Stoke line, coming off from the junction and then just finishing in mid-air. And so I'm planning to build another scenic baseboard at this point, and this line will curve round and join up with the high level train loops. So there's loads to keep me busy here for years to come. And if you're a railway modeller, there's always lots you can do, isn't there? And
there is.
So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you found it of interest.
Absolutely brilliant, Paul. I've really enjoyed listening to how you put it together.
John and Christine are asking how you've done your back scene.
The back scene, right? Well, yes. Well, the back scene is off the shelf. It's not the real back scene. Problem is that because of tree growth and sort of changes that have taken place since the 1940s, it's no longer possible to go and photograph the background, the back scene, the real back scene at Colwich Junction. It's quite a scenic place actually, because you've got to the west of Colwich Junction Station, you've got the river, the canal, the Trent Mersey Canal, the River Trent, and then you've got Cannock Chase. So it's quite a nice place to go to, but you can't any longer see it because of all the tree growth along the riverbanks and the canal and the railway and what have you. So when I found that trying to photograph it, I did actually photograph the real thing for my model of Scout Green. I did go out to Shap and actually photograph it and get it printed, and it's the real thing. But here it isn't. It's not possible to do it. So I just bought some similar sort of rolling wooded countryside back scene from off the shelf, and it sort of repeats itself, but it's not really noticeable. So actually, anybody who wants that back scene can go and buy it. But it's just mounted on MDF, an MDF frame. I don't know if you can perhaps see in this picture that if you look at the last telegraph pole, where the back scene actually ends, you can see that the wall behind is further away. So I've actually built a framework to stand the back scene further away from the wall so that I can get a deeper back scene in. It's one of the disadvantages of having a loft, is because of the slope of the roof, it limits the depth of your back scene. Ideally, I'd have liked the vaccine to be about 2 feet high, but you just can't do it in this situation.
So we've got a message from Richard Brown saying, many thanks, Paul, for your presentation, especially the track building section. And we have a message from Robin saying, thank you, Paul, beautiful modelling. So if anybody else has got any questions, you might have a few seconds left. Perhaps if you want to unmute yourself and ask Paul a question yourself. No, we don't seem to have any takers.
I will just say, thanks, Paul. It's been a very, very interesting evening, and I think your track building is absolutely superb, as I said in the message. But I think the whole layout is superb, and hope to catch up with you at the show sooner or later.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really pleased that you found it interesting.
Funny you should say that, Rob, because me and Ian, Alan, and James are in the process of persuading Paul to do a section for the next virtual show. I think we'll try and find some time to go to Paul's house and take a video of his layout and that we can use as a presentation for the virtual show, which is, I think, at the beginning of February next year, isn't it?
Yeah,
James?
it is. Yes. Yeah, I think that'll be really worthwhile.
Yeah.
No problem. My pleasure.
We can hopefully make that happen.
Yeah. Let me know when you want to come then, and we'll get that arranged.
Very good.
Well, I think if there are no further comments, we'll bring the session to a close.
Yeah. Thank you very much for hosting, James and Nick.
Very welcome. And thank you very much, Paul, for a wonderful talk on clearly a wonderful layout. And I really look forward to seeing the video
good.
of it when that's done.
Yeah.
There will be a further session of An Evening With in November the 26th. Ian, are you on? You here at the moment?
Yes. Don't forget to kill this share and share the new PowerPoint.
Well, I would if I got it.
I sent it.
Oh, I think I have it. If you wait a second.
Can you do it, please, Nick? Because I haven't.
Yeah, I think I probably can.
Paul, while I'm here, thank you very much for this evening. I joined about 8:20 and very interesting, mate. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you found it interesting.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. It's looking great.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, nice to see you, Dave.
Yep.
Hi, Dave.
Oh.
So this is the next An Evening With that I think Ian was referring to. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Just bear with me because I am, as you can see, utter beginner at this, but there we go. So I'm going to assume the next An Evening With on the 26th of November. So do go away, everyone, and get yourself some tickets.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do.
Next slide.
Is that the next one? It is, isn't it?
Shall I go through it?
Yeah, go on then.
Okay. So anybody that's joining us this evening and is considering joining the guild, you can join and take a 1 month free membership. And if you then decide to join at the end of the 1 month trial, your membership lasts from 12 months from when you decide to join the guild. Currently £30 in the UK and £35 rest of the world, and you will get 4 gazettes, 4 guild newses every year. There is the option of digital membership at £25 a year, where you will get an e-sign effectively, but also take into account that membership subscriptions are going up on the 1st of January by £2, I think it is, for the UK, and I think £3 for overseas.
I think it's £3, Ian.
Is it £3 each?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had this discussion in a meeting last week, and we couldn't decide whether it's 32 or 33, but
I think it's 33, Ian.
It's in the May. It's all in the May Gazette. There was a big article by Malcolm Hector about subscriptions, and that is in the May. Sorry, Guild News. Yeah, I can't remember if it's 33 or 32. Anyway, here we go. If you wish to join, go to the Guild website, gageourguild.com. Click on About Us, as pointed by the big red arrow. That opens up another drop-down box with Join Online. And then once you've clicked on that, it takes you to the next page where you see a membership application form. That's the current form, which shows you annual UK membership, annual overseas membership, student digital membership, and the annual digital membership. And right at the bottom, you've got the option of the free 1 month trial. So you can have a look on the Guild website for a month. Social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram, and we have our YouTube channel, which are the top right on the web page. Now you can go to the YouTube, Nick. Hurrah! Currently around about 605, 610 videos available for you to watch. If possible, can you subscribe to the channel? It doesn't cost anything, but it helps with the YouTube algorithm for promoting the videos. And then finally, our final show for 2025 is the Winter Show Wigan. Robin Park Leisure Centre on Saturday, 6th of December, 9:30 till 4 p.m. And then there is a calendar of events for next year there as well. So the Spring Show Kettering, Saturday, 7th of March. The Summer Show in Wigan, Saturday, 30th of May. So a change there for Wigan. It's changing dates of the year. Guildex, our 2-day convention, Saturday the 5th, Sunday the 6th of September. And then our winter show at Campton Park on Saturday, the 12th of December. And a reminder that next year, the Guild is celebrating 70 years. So 1956 to 2026. Yes, Alex. Yay! Back to Nick and James.
Okay. Right. I will. Right, well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining in tonight. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you have too. Again, many thanks to Paul for talking to us and spending his valuable evening when he should have been doing a bit more to his layout. So thank you again. And good night, everybody.
Good night. Get your glue out, Paul.
Good night.